Hello, good evening. I welcome all our viewers to this IAI3 Edu Talk, and I also welcome our guest for today, Dr. Deepak Shikarpur. Now, IAI3, it stands for the International Association of Industry Institute Interface. So it is actually a meeting ground between students and the corporate world. We have been in existence for 20 years. So we are an education portal and we have been able to touch the lives of millions of students all over the world. Upskilling students, helping them, mapping their potential, that has been our greatest vision for IAI3. Now in IAI3, we provide several free of charge services to the public. Every Tuesday, we hold a knowledge sharing session where we call proficient people from different professions, and they come and they share their expertise, guiding people along the way. And we run an e-bulletin which is published and is put on platforms all over the world. Now this IAI3 EduTalk is a baby. We are still in our babyhood, and it has been the initiative of our president, Dr. Neeta Parati. It is basically conversations over coffee, and here we invite people who, by the sheer dint of expertise of their profession, they have gone out of the way to help other people to harness their skills, to motivate them to come out and follow professions in which they have capabilities. So we have had COVID warriors, we have had astral scientists, leading trainers of this country, and also people from across the boundaries of Hindustan have been contacting us that can we come and share our stories. So it is a portal where ordinary people have done extraordinary things with their lives. Now, it is a deep and profound honor for me to introduce to you Dr. Deepak Shikarpur. Dr. Shikarpur is a luminous personality of Pune. His passion is to spread IT to the masses, and so he has written 41 books in Marathi and in English. Dr. Shikarpur, he is a director with Kinetic Communications as well as Seed Infotech Limited. He is a mentor and an advisor in a company called Hexanica, which is based out of New York, and it has its offices in Pune as well. So this company, they are into regulatory reporting, and he has a similar position of a mentor and an advisor in another company, and that is called Snapper Tech, which is a blockchain venture. Deepak is on very prestigious bodies like the Computer Society of India, as well as the Maratha Chamber of Industry and Agriculture. Very recently, Higher Education Department, they requested Deepak to come on to the IT membership of the All India Council of Technical Education. He is on the governing body of MIT from the ADT University. Now, he has held the prestigious position of being a district governor of Rotary International District 3131 for the year 2013-14. It is a huge honor and a responsibility. So in motivating professionals, entrepreneurs, students, people who want to begin startups, he has traveled the globe as well as in rural India. Many people seek career guidance from him. He has always been a first-class student. He is a distinction holder from the engineering bachelor's program, and he has a doctorate in information technology. Dr. Deepak Shikarpur, he is an orator, a writer, a career counselor, and a mentor to several thousands of people. So I warmly welcome you, sir. Dr. Parati, myself, we are indeed honored to have you on our show. Thank you for coming.
Warm welcome. So now, nicely, you have already introduced our today's guest of honor. So let's start knowing about him. So now we will start interview, sir. So my first question to you, our audience actually keen to know, what is the role of this career counseling in our life?
Mainly for me, career counseling started as an accident. Actually, personally speaking, counseling is missing element in higher education as well as professional work, because guidance is required at every level, and one can't take a stand, I know everything. In fact, I also need some help, so I also go to some people who help me. So there is nobody in the world who can say I know everything under the sun. And actually my career counseling journey started by an accident. I watched a lot of movies that Anjali forgot to tell you. When multiplexes were open, I used to watch 3 to 4 movies a week minimum.
Oh, really?
So I live next to a multiplex, so it is very easy. So I once went for a morning show, and the owner of the multiplex, he also is a very good friend. He told me, I need your help. You please meet me after the show is over. So I went to his cabin. Then he said, we find a person in the coffee shop. There was only one person in the coffee shop on a laptop. Then he said, this person comes for 2 months, Monday to Friday, and 9 to 5 like office, and orders very minimum things, and is constantly on the laptop. And we find this unusual. So I said, okay, then what do you want me to do? So he said, you at least speak to him and find out whether he needs help. So I went and barged in. Initially, this person was reluctant, but later on, I came to know he had lost his job 2 months back, and he could not dare to tell his home. So he used to live as if he's going to office, and he used to sit in this coffee shop, and he was constantly searching for a job. And his problem was he lost a job at X salary, and he was looking for X plus, which was not going through. So I had to do him counseling to him, and I told him current situation is you are jobless. So you accept whatever is coming to your end, and you grow with the company, and maybe after 2-3 years you will get your break, whatever you want to see. So he accepted, and I accidentally or maybe coincidence, he had an offer that time for a lesser salary, which after my talking he accepted. After 2 months, I went to see another movie, and in the interval, one lady fell on my feet. So I said, what is happening? I'm not a guru or God or something, God man. She said, you are Deepak Shikarpur? I said, yes. Then she said, then her husband came, who was the same person. And what she said was, had I not met that person at that time, he was going to commit suicide that night. So suddenly it struck as a lightning to me that people need help, but they don't know what to do. So I started online activities initially on Facebook. Then I have started rtcareercounseling.com. It's a digital platform. People connect online and if needed offline. And this is how my journey as a counselor started. And in lockdown, many people need help. So they seek my advice. And whatever little I know, I try to tell them. And I run this as a social enterprise. So there is no money involved.
Oh, great job you're doing, sir, and really nice to know how actually you are helping people. And it was wonderful that someone was actually at the stage of committing suicide, and you have helped them out. And for actually their life, you are like a means God, एक फरिश्ते के रूप में actually उन्होंने
फरिश्ता अगर
treat
आप बोल रहे हो, मैंने कुछ नहीं किया. I spoke to him for 30 minutes, and all I did was to make him realize the situation and make him accept an offer. See, sometimes people, their thinking pattern is different. So they need outside person to tell them the truth. So anyway, whatever little I do, but I get happiness out of this. That is my biggest pleasure. See, every day, if you make somebody happy, I think what more you want? This is my spirituality.
Correct.
So I don't have to go to temple or God to make people happy. People come to me, and I try to make them happy.
Correct. So now coming on to the next question. Of course, now IT has become predominant in all the sectors, whether it is education, academia, research, then government, private sector, business sector, everywhere. It's predominant. And of course, after this pandemic, now we are also meeting virtually. Previously, we used to have face-to-face sessions, but now everything, even our trainings and everything is going on online nowadays. So how actually you would like to make relevance of IT in today's this changing era or in today's trend for our audience?
See, this virtualization is forced on us. It did not happen as a plan. And I used to tell people, especially if you are in higher education, and if you want to connect with industry experienced people, don't expect them to come to visit your school or college, because it may not be possible. And somehow there was a lot of reluctance and opposition. But now situation has changed. So in a way, my personal opinion is phygital is the correct model. Phygital is physical plus digital, because you can't get away with face-to-face interaction, because education is very complex process. Education is not only attending classes and listening to teachers. Education, when students go to school or they go to college, they learn by various experiences. You know, a child, when he crosses road, it makes him risk-taking ability, and he suddenly maybe he's tomorrow's entrepreneur. So you can't make people sit in a home, and this is where I say, few thousand years back, we had a Gurukul model, where Guru used to invite students at home. Now we have Gharkul model. Sab ghar mein baithe and seek rahe, but it is not a 100% perfect model. I think we require a mix, and I'm told that Pune city is opening up from Monday for schools and colleges for those students who have taken those. Anyway, so to answer your question, virtualization is there. We are used to now work from home, learn from home, but it has its own nuances. Because imagine a situation where husband and wife both are working in IT company, then their children are in school and they are in one flat, and they are all online. So this is not a very good situation. And adjusting and making people happy. In fact, many of some of the counseling sessions I do are because of this situation also. So I tell husband or wife, you get out and work from coffee shop and go, because then peace of mind will come. Because when people go to office also, they break their monotony, and ultimately everybody needs some space. So you can't have same people glued to each other for 24/7, which is once in a while or on a holiday, it is fine, but it can't be a sustainable for long term. So to answer your question, virtualization in education is a good trend, but it should not be overused. One has to use infrastructure. One has to have physical interaction, and you can't get away from it.
Correct. Very nicely answered, because many of the people, even I have come across with people, those who have gone in depression or some kind of psychological state just because they are staying in home at all. Means they are not coming out of the home, and just they are in the same environment. Because of that also very badly that particular thing affect them, and they have gone in different state of mind. So yeah, really it's true that we have to come out, we have to meet people, and we need some kind of exposure, and different environment is needed. So coming on to our next question. So now we are already talking about IT. So could you please put on some light on modern whatever trends are coming in that, whatever is the career opportunities for IT students and those who are working in IT?
So today, fortunately, if you are learning IT, then you are in maybe you have hit a gold mine, because 75% jobs at the moment in India are only in digital and allied fields. So this IT education is going to boom. But there are two challenges. One is IT industry requires people who can work from day one. And this is where we have a big problem, because if students are learning from home and they are not going to college, where will they acquire skills? Where will they acquire work culture? So the missing element in this is internship. So in IT industry, technical trends are many. There is IoT of Internet of Things. Then there is artificial intelligence. Then you have analytics, you have robotics. So these are all technical terms which one can learn. But one has to understand, industry doesn't work as per syllabus. Industry is nothing but problem solving. So what students have to learn is problem solving abilities, and whatever knowledge they gather in the journey, they have to apply it. And this application element is a big problem. And many times we meet, there is a term in IT industry called fresher. A fresher is a person who has only degree and no work experience, and he has no ability to do anything. So olden days, they used to expect industry to train. So I still remember freshers used to join IT companies, and IT companies used to train them for 6 months to 1 year. And but that model has currently stopped, and IT companies no longer invest. Maybe there are short-term orientations for say 1 or 2 weeks, but long-term training model is over. So if you are an IT student, then you have to take extra efforts. You have to upskill yourself. You have to do internships, and these internship opportunities are plenty. There are at least 800 startups in Pune who need people. But somehow our conventional thinking is syllabus is everything. I will pass an exam and I will get a job. वो जमाना चला गया मैडम अभी. In fact, jokingly, I will tell you, there was a movie called Bidai many years back, and Jitendra had acted in it. And so he came home and in the movie and declared to his mother, "Ma, मैं BA pass हो गया." So mother started extrapolating. This was year 71. Degree was equal to job was the equation in 70s. So she started extrapolating. Now he has become BA. Now he will get a job, and then he will get married because of that, and everything will be happy. So she said, "Okay, ठीक है, बेटा मैं तुझे गाजर का हलवा खिलाती." So in 71, BA degree was equal to gajar ka halwa. Now imagine today, replace B with M, because M is very important. M is money. So you have MCA, MBA, and so many M-oriented courses. Even after they do that, now imagine if a MBA or MCA student comes home and tells parents, "My MBA ho gaya." So immediately mother will ask, "Placement hua kya?" This placement is a very important.
Right.
And placement doesn't occur only by degree. See, degree gets you social acceptance. So your ability to get married improves because now suddenly you are a graduate. But industry is not ready for it. Industry requires people who can perform. And its performance is skill and internship. So learn technologies, but skilling is very important. And today I find it tremendously missing in all higher education elements, and this is applicable to all streams. Skill is ability to perform. And here I will give you one more example. Tomato is a fruit. You agree? Now this is information which you can acquire from Google. But even though tomato is a fruit, it should not be used for cooking fruit salad. This is knowledge which a guru will tell you or a mentor will tell you. And ability to cook fruit salad is skill. So today's skill happens only when you put something to practice. And this practice comes through work experience. So ideally speaking, I personally feel students have a lot of breaks. They have at least 3 months break in a year. This 3 months every year, if you are an IT student from your age of 16, where you enroll in a program, you must do work internships. And when you pass out in a 4-year course, you must have done 4 internships. And that will get you experience, and you must have got 3-4 skill certificates. So it is plus. This is my mantra. I have written an article on this. One of my books is on IT career, where I have described that plus is the mantra. So whether you are B, BTech, BCA, MCA, I don't care, but you must be plus. And first plus is skill, and second plus is work experience.
Right. Wonderful answer, because nowadays students are taking like, okay, degree aa gaya, ho gaya, and then actually their real journey start, and then they realize ki what are the blockages and problems in real world. So wonderfully explained, sir. Next question is, I guess you have already talked about it, ki how IT professional and students should upgrade themselves, because IT industry is changing very fast and new trends are coming, and today whatever is going on, tomorrow that may not be in use or outdated. So in that case, how they should always keep themselves upgraded?
So this is where an important skill IT student must acquire, and that skill is called learnability. Learnability is ability to learn every day. Now I call myself experienced person. I don't call myself veteran, but experienced person. But I have to upgrade myself also. So I have subscribed to newsletters, and people I try to search for new information. And this is where digital technology is to your rescue. Now you don't have to go to a library. You don't have to read books. You can get concise information and upgrade yourself. So upgrade is very important, and unless you upgrade, you will become obsolete. And here also I will share with you one story. I graduated in '85, and I had another friend of mine who graduated with me, and he went to US, and he worked in a big company, and he used to work on mainframe computers all his life. Then he wanted to come back to India, and he sent his profile in year 2000. I still remember. And last 5 years, he had worked on that time hot technology called Y2K. But all his experience was on mainframes. So COBOL, ALGOL, and these were the languages. And finally, I had to tell him after a month, my friend, the only place which will give you job in Pune is Raja Kelkar Museum, because that is the place where all historic people are kept. Unfortunately, your skills are historic. So you need to upgrade yourself. So he got enrolled in a skilling program. He worked for 1 year, and then finally he got a job. So this is very important. In IT industry, your past laurels have no meaning. You may have got 400% mark in your SSC and 900% mark in HSC, because nowadays marks are like that, you know. They are like temperature, you know. In our times, the marks were in the, you know, temperature is in degree as well as Fahrenheit. So our generation, we were used to marks like degree, but these students are getting in Fahrenheit. Everybody is 95 plus. Now they get that false overconfidence. I have got 95% marks, so I am great. You are not great. Your utility value is very important. If you can do a task, then only you are worth something in IT sector. And this is a message which must be learned by people. And slowly things are changing. There are many universities where skilling and internship is integral part of their course. So they are automatically creating ready product. So you have to compare. Your student is like a food product. You go to a hotel and order for food. Now, can a waiter tell you come after 6 months? You can't accept. No, you will say get lost. I want it in 5 minutes. Now, same thing IT industry is telling. I have a problem. You solve in 5 minutes. Now, you can't come and say that was not part of my syllabus and I did not study, but I got marks. I said, what difference it makes? Today my problem can be solved by a 4th standard dropout or double PhD. That doesn't make any difference to me. So degree and past laurels have no importance in this sector. It is your ability to perform things. And sometimes we have found diploma holders more versatile than people who have double graduates, because they are able to solve problems. And many times they have surpassed people also. So there are many such case studies we have got.
Yes, many companies like Google, Facebook and all, even they have changed their policies of recruitment wherein they are not looking for degrees. If a person is having ability, on the basis of ability, they are actually hiring people. So that old days has gone. Only degree, if you are having, then only you will get job. It's not like that. You have to perform, show your performance, and then only on your abilities, you will get your job. So rightly said, sir. Next question is regarding cloud. So what is the concept of cloud and how it functions?
See, cloud is nothing but data storage. So when we started learning computers, old days, we had tapes. I still remember big tapes. So that was where data was stored. Then from that mode, we came to floppies. And sometimes some of you may remember there were floppy drives. Then we came onto CDs. Then we came onto pen drive. And now today we are talking about hosting data on a server. And cloud computing is all about data management, where hosting a data. So you may be running an application, and let me put it very simply. If you are using Facebook, then there is a server which is keeping this data. If Facebook was invented, fortunately it got invented in 21st century. But had we got Facebook in 80s, then we would be required to store all the information on your floppies and carry it with you. And again, you plug it in, and then it is available. So cloud is nothing but a new model of data storage. And since you are connected on net, data update happens online. In fact, backups also happen remotely. When you are using WhatsApp also, you are using an application. I don't know whether you are aware, but all your messages get backed up by WhatsApp at night. And if you lose your phone or something, you are able to come to 1 day old state because of this backup. So these data servers, there are huge fat, we call them server farms. And like you have farm for vegetables and fruits, there are server farms, and this is another business. There are senior companies who only do data hosting and data management, and their services are used by all application providers. And this is my simple answer for cloud computing.
Okay. Wonderful, sir. Very nicely and easily you have explained this difficult and technical term. So yeah, you are invited on several platforms, sir. So to give talk, you also give talk regularly to contribute to Lokmat newspaper. So could you please tell us how ordinary people can make use of IT to fulfill their lives?
When you are using a smartphone, you are automatically using IT, because today your smartphone is a digital device which connects with the world. So there are many emergencies. So social media has positives and negatives also. But positive is, if you need help in emergency, all you have to do is broadcast and people will know you need help and something can happen. So these are positive things. And today your time to learn a new application is reducing day by day, because applications are becoming highly user friendly. Now there is Alexa. So then we are talking about Google assisted typing tool. So earlier we had to write in English or Marathi letter and again enter. Now voice assisted tools are available. So as you are talking, you will get your notes in Word with 95% accuracy in any language. So these innovations are happening very fast. So you have to find a application, and you will find an IT solution in it. So IT to me is not a technology; it is a transformation tool. It will transform anything.
Yes, chatbots and all, they have actually replaced human being like anything. And even we don't understand, or we don't come to know ki some chatbot is there and who is chatting with us. Wonderfully explained, sir. Yeah, there are several terminology wherein artificial intelligence and all this terminology have actually replaces many human efforts. And Alexa ने तो बाप रे कमाल कर दिया है उठने की भी जरूरत नहीं है रिमोट यूज करने की भी जरूरत नहीं है बोल दो एंड हो गया. Okay, now the next question is regarding, yeah, some temples and all. Prestigious temple like the Brushet Halwai, they are also using some kind of websites, and through these websites, actually, people are booking their different kind of ceremonies. So all these things are happening very nicely. So what exactly you will say about this? Ki how physically, if you, even you are not going anywhere, and without going anywhere, how all these things can be managed with the help of IT? How IT is replacing, or people can use it?
So I told you, IT is transformation technology.
Right.
So it can transform anything. It can transform communication. It can transform. And I will give you another small example. This is around a decade back. This happened in Paris. Two American engineers came out of XYZ place in Paris. Now, don't ask me from where, because this was 2 a.m. midnight. And they came out and they realized that there is no subway, because all subways in Europe close at 12 p.m. except weekends. And it was 2 a.m. and it was not India, because in India, wherever you go at 2 a.m., barking dogs will chase you. So because it was Paris, there were no dogs, stray dogs. So they were stranded on a road, and suddenly one car stopped. And the car driver said, "You seem to be tourists. So do you need help?" Then they said, "Yes, we need to go to XYZ hotel." Now, as coincidence, the car driver said, "I am going in that area. I will drop you." But while he dropped them, he said that I have given you service for 1 hour driving, so you give me 100 euros. After that, the car driver went home and slept. But these two American engineers did not sleep, because suddenly lightning struck them. There is a possibility to connect people who have vehicles and people who need transportation. And this is how Uber was born. And now today, Uber has replaced London Underground as the world's largest transportation company. And in India, we have Uber versions like Ola and various other things. So Uber has transformed transportation to such a level that in economy, now Uberization of economy is a term. And same model now is available in every field. Airbnb is there, Oyo is there, which is managing hospitality. You look at Byju's and Khan Academy. There are many parents who think that Byju is the only answer for learning. Finally, it is what? It is an app. An app connects people who need help with somebody who is having help. So this is what IT actually does. It transforms whichever sector. Look at banking, how banks were operating 25 years back. Today you, without any physical activity, without visiting a bank, you can transact online. You can transact using your phone. You can send money, you can receive money. So, and newer and newer options are coming. And this is what I am saying. IT is not technology. IT is transforming your way of life.
Correct. Really, all whatever you have mentioned regarding Ola, Uber, Byju's, and everything, it has actually impacted our life very positively, and it has make wonderful change. Even we might have not think about it. Even Oyo Air, BNB, these people are working so nicely. So wonderful, sir. All your answers are actually, even our audience must be liking it. How it's an eye opener every time you are answering something, and we are realizing, oh, IT has really changed our life. Okay, now we are coming on the last question of our today's interview. So, sir, please tell us a little bit about exercising caution to safeguard ourselves against cybercrime and frauds.
Okay, the good that you asked me the question. When you talked about cloud, we talked about hosting data and wherever data is there. Now comes the issue of security. And this is the dark side of technology, because cyber criminals are on the run and they keep hunting for their victims. And for that, they don't have to go anywhere. All they have to do is to surf social media and find out fools. And there was a case 5 years back. A family posted photographs on Facebook. All of us are enjoying holiday. This was a free information to thieves, and their home was burgled, and they invited thieves. So you need to be very careful on what you post on social media. See, social media is not your daily diary. People are misunderstanding that. Social media is a tool to connect, and it is a very good tool of promoting and advertising. So what you want to tell the world about yourself, your personality, your company products, use social media. It is like advertising. But you don't have to tell people, I woke up at 8 a.m., then something happened, then my selfie. So selfie is another problem. Somebody takes 200 photographs and posts. Then if those photographs are not liked, then this person goes in depression. Oh, my friends are not liking me. So this is all artificial creation of everything. Now, crime is a human tendency. Crime existed since human race started. So technically speaking, 7% humans are criminals. Some get opportunity to commit crime. Some are waiting for the right opportunity. So criminals have also got advanced now. And the average age of cyber criminal is 16, and which is a very dangerous thing. As I'm speaking to you, potentially 7% cyber criminals are listening to this talk. So they use technology. I have written a book on cybercrime with case studies, and you can do anything. And while you're on this topic, I can tell you how murders can take place. So this is a classic case which happened in USA. One person had some health problems and allergies. He got admitted in a hospital, and he passed away after 8 to 10 days. Now, people thought it was a natural death. But after 15 days, a policeman saw conversation in a bar with two people. And one person said, I have killed him by hiring a hacker. So what he did was he hired services of a hacker who hacked website of the hospital. And he changed the drug delivery model. And he knew his friend was allergic to few drugs. So he replaced few medicines in the drug delivery program. And this person got wrong drugs. And as a result of which died. Had he not bragged about this thing in a bar, nobody would have come to know this. And after that, this incidents which took place around 9-10 years back, hospitals woke up. They started installing cyber secure servers. Then now drug delivery checked many times. So please understand the impact of cyber crime is very, very high. It is very deep. So it is not a fad or something, because that brings me to another issue of cyber addiction. Like you have alcohol or nicotine addiction, internet is also an addiction, and there are de-addiction centers which have started in many cities. And if you are a person who can't live without looking at your phone, if you are online more than 10 to 12 hours a day, if you are forced to be online, it's fine. But if you're doing nothing, chalo kuch dekhte hai social media pe, then you are definitely getting addicted. Time has come where you need to take breaks. You don't have to look at screen all the time. You require to move around. You need to do external activities, develop hobbies, play something, have some hobbies like singing, drawing, or painting, or whatever. And you need to spend time on those activities also. Maybe you can do some of these things online, but let online world not take over your life. You need to use tools. Tools cannot take you, and they can't dictate terms to you. So this message is very clear. And here also, I want to warn parents who are listening to this. They must find out what their children are doing. They must track their cyber behavior, what sites they are looking at and what not, because people who are drug peddlers, people who are criminals, they also communicate with young people in coded language. And many times we have seen wrong friends. And this is where I personally use this philosophy. None of my Facebook friends are offline friends. Only those people whom I know in the real world are my Facebook friends. And when people send me request, I politely tell them, since I know you, don't know you, I cannot be your friend. And I don't believe in this model of virtual friendship. Only develop friendship with people online whom you know. Who knows the intentions of people who are befriending you? They can be spies, they can be potential criminals, they may have any other interest. Unfortunately, parents and children don't know this. And even boys and girls at young age, they go into false ambition. I have 5,000 friends. Why do you have such ambitions? 5,000 real friends, if you have, then you are really good. But online friends is no meaning, because none of them are going to help you. You need to only develop physical communities and use social media as a communication tool with interacting with people whom you know. I thought, I hope it is not a long answer.
Rightly said, sir. No, it's absolutely not a long answer, because so many points actually you have touched, and you have given a very nice message to all the parents also, because nowadays kids are also getting so much addicted for these games and different digital gadgets, and they are playing anything, and they are getting some virtual friends also. Even my kid is having some foreigner friends, and he's communicating while he's playing. So yeah, we should be very much cautious about all this kind of thing. You have rightly mentioned few of that, like murder and all happened, but the most important kind of thing is money transfer and all this kind of bank related hacking, because nowadays so many app people are using, and it's getting hacked, like their account get hacked, their money get lost. And again, other than that, there are few of the games wherein in between some game were banned. Within that, last level was suicide, and even few of the kids have committed suicide just because they were following that game, and it was very difficult to come out of that game. Once you start it, you have to finish all the levels. So yeah, this is like addiction, just like people are having different kind of addiction. So social media is also addiction nowadays, and not only kids, but all the adults and everyone is facing all this real life problem issues. It's a kind of attention span syndrome, which is less attention, means why we are actually facing a lot of issues in our life, because nowadays focus, attention, all these kind of things have gone to very very less, just because of so many things and so many distractions we are having. So rightly said, and very nice answers. All our viewers must be very happy to see you and to listen you. So thank you very much, sir.
So I wanted to give a parting thought, and I had requested Anjali to ask me that question, which was my last question.
Yes, yes.
And this was about foreign languages. And I appeal all teachers and members of your society to teach Japanese to all students, irrespective of which stream he or she wants to be, because we have to now look eastward. The era of westward thing is over. Japan is our strategic partner. Their average age is 75 plus. India's average age is 20. So we are synergic partners. They respect Indians. They are as advanced as USA. And there are many open jobs. As I am talking to you, there are 2 lakh open jobs in Japan. They are in every field. The only catch is you need to learn language and pass minimum exams. And Japanese language teachers, Pune is a place where maximum Japanese language teachers are there outside Japan. So make advantage. They can teach online also. And it takes 2 years to cross what is called N3. Japan language has N5, N4, N3, N2, N1. And N1 takes 4 years. But if you cross N3, and that means you can conversate and write language, then you become eligible for many jobs and higher education options. Where for scholarships you will get, government will fund you, Japan government will fund you. Unfortunately, awareness is not there. I have a friend in Pune who was earlier MD of Sharp, and he is appointed by Japan government full time in Pune to improve trade between India and Japan and also admissions in Japanese universities. At appropriate time, you can organize his talk also. But first, you need to impress upon all your teachers, parents, instead of doing anything else. And fortunately, Japanese language learning doesn't cost much. It's just an investment of 20,000-30,000 rupees over a period of 2 years. So if you skip a meal in a 5-star hotel or 4-star hotel once a month, you will learn Japanese language, which will become your lifelong asset.
Right. Deepak, can I please ask 1 or 2 questions? If it is
sure.
fine, yes. It's mainly because taking the benefit of your expertise, and it's like a prediction. See, a lot of children who are the children of our household help, they have smartphones, but they don't have access to Wi-Fi. So they go to areas where they can connect. Now, do you think in India, of course, it's a prediction that everywhere in the country we would be able to get, access to Wi-Fi in the future?
Fortunately, Anjali, situation is coming back to track, and my hope is 2022 will be like 2019, how we lived 2019.
Yes.
So today, internet is necessity, but if you have physical education and physical learning, then this smartphone dependence for learning will not exist. But to answer your question, even internet technologies are innovating. There is a 5G probably coming to India, and 2 service providers have already announced. There is a technical problem there. There is a problem of tower radiation. As you know how mobile phone work, you need towers, and they pick up signal. Now, unfortunately, some people, including some celebrities, started a campaign. If you erect mobile towers, then it attracts radiation and it causes several diseases.
Yes.
But let me tell you, World Health Organization has put on its website, nowhere there is a proof radiation caused by mobile towers has caused diseases. The only problem is if you keep phone on your ear for 3 hours, and if you're talking, then it will become hot and your ear will have problem.
Yes.
But radiations don't cause. So today we have this problem of call drop, low bandwidth, because we have less towers. And this problem doesn't exist outside India. I travel all over the world.
Yes.
Only in India we have this problem where bandwidth is poor, and the root cause, when I inquired with service provider, is we don't have towers.
That's right. And also it's a matter of interest for me, and I'm sorry to show my ignorance in IT. See, when they have these space stations, and they have space research, and this question is related because I'm interested in this intergalactic tourism. So those computers which manage these stations which are circling the Earth, those computers are on the Earth itself, is it?
No. See, there is a technology of satellite. So please understand, large companies who are exchanging data, they have their satellites. Google has a satellite. That is why they are able to give you map. How Google Map runs? Because Google has mapped almost the whole world, and this is through a satellite.
Okay.
So what you have to understand is, in the space, they have satellite. If you are near a satellite which is having some kind of relay mechanism, then your bandwidth, etc., will work there. Otherwise, it will not work.
Right.
Ultimately, it's a no-brainer. You have a phone; it requires connection.
Yes, that's right. But Deepak, it was such an engaging talk, and you made it so humorous to explain the points. So it was so completely hilarious at some points, and also very educated. It is indeed so nice of you to take so much trouble to explain in detail. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's so beautiful. Thanks again.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. We are blessed to have you here, and it was really a very interactive talk. So audience, let's have announcement about our upcoming session. So our next II3 Edu Talk is on 22nd of October, and Manually Casamanian, French blog writer, and India lover will be speaking about her wonderful experience of India. So next Friday, 15th October is holiday for Dashera, and after that we will have this wonderful session. So thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Anjali ji.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Deepak. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Hope to see you again on our show. Thank you so
Sure,
much.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.